Hello, this is Mark Wildman of Wildman Athletica, and today we're going to answer a viewer's question in multiple parts. We got a great question the other day. How many swings are equivalent to running a mile? That has a lot of answers to it. Let's talk about a couple of the overview ideas here. The first thing I would want to know is, what is your mile time? How long does it take you to run a mile? Do you run a 10-minute mile? Do you run a 6-minute mile? They're very different things. For the most part, let's just say 8-minute mile for fun. The most brutal answer for an 8-minute mile is 8 minutes of swings. Now, how many swings do you do in a minute? Let's say 18 per 30 seconds, 34 to 36 per minute, 34 to 36 times 8, 270 or so swings. But that is if you were doing all of those swings straight in a row. To pull off, 270 swings straight in a row, you would need to already be fairly well-trained athlete. You would need to know how to do swings very well. You would need to know how to protect your core very well. And your hamstrings would have to be very efficient already. That's kind of the way I like to do it. I'm a pretty big nerd for just endurance kettlebell training at this point in my career as a kettlebell dude. So I'm up to like 52 minutes of nonstop kettlebelling. So I'm trying to match like 5K or 6K times. The other way to think about this would be heart rate match. And this would require you to know data. This would require you probably to have a data gathering device, or you to be really good at taking your own pulse at the end of a mile, which is a skill you should probably have anyway. You should learn how to take your pulse for 10 seconds and multiply it by 6 so you know what kind of range you're in. That's an old trainer trick that we used to use all the time, but I don't think anybody does it anymore. People now use devices. I have a Garmin Instinct, and it does not track kettlebells for shit. I mean, it's not good at all, but it tracks running great. So get your average heart rate across that time, and then you could try to match your heart rate for that amount of time. That can probably be done for your average individual just doing normal swing training. Just doing a normal swing progression EMOM for that amount of time. One of the reasons that I always pick a 10-minute EMOM for swings is because it's kind of somewhere in the middle of a good, bad mile time. If somebody is out of shape, that would be a mile time that we were trying to achieve, so we're trying to get them to work for that amount of time. If somebody is a good athlete, we want them to work longer than they would have to do a mile. So if they had a 7-minute mile, we'd like them to work for 10 minutes so that a mile seems a lot easier to them. That is all part of the what the hell effect, as it is known in kettlebelling. People do just a normal EMOM swing program and their run times go up. Advanced kettlebell guys get really, really good at it, and they match that time under tension for specific athletic goals that they would have. Another way to do it would be calorie match, but that would require you to have even more data. That would require you to know heart rate, that would require you to know body weight, and most devices will probably do that now. Apple Watches will do that. I don't think this Garmin does calorie match. It probably doesn't. I still haven't finished reading the book for it. It's very annoying. To match that calorie, or to match that heart rate, you would have to know all this data. This now leads me to believe that I need to make a bunch of videos on how to do these basic things. The easiest possible way to estimate your heart rate is 220 minus your age, and that is just like a straight ballpark, just round number figure. What we would also like to know is your resting heart rate. And then there's a correction in that equation for resting heart rate. Corrections are always a fun thing in math because everybody thinks that they know a bunch of stuff about equations. Like everybody knows E equals MC squared, but nobody knows the corrections that go after that. There's always a general part of the equation that is kind of used for the overview, and then there's corrections for a bunch of other things that you work on. So we'll have to do a video on that at some point. Somebody remind me, we'll do it. So when you think about how many swings are really equivalent to running a mile, think about your engineering equation. How much information do you have, and how good of an answer do you want? It's a super annoying answer. It's an engineering answer. The answers in engineering tend to be how much money do you have and how soon do you want the answer, and that's the same answers that I'm always going to give you guys. How much data do you have, and how good of an answer do you want? The easiest answer is do swings on an EMOM and do your normal progression. Start light, do your 10 minutes, 8 reps, 10 reps, 12 reps. Go up in weight, repeat it, get up to a high weight. Your hamstrings will get much better. Your heart will get much better. Your running will get much better. And you kind of don't have to worry about how to make it equivalent because your running is going to change based on how good you get at your swings and how strong your posterior chain gets. Nerdier guys will then get into the time under tension matching for various activities. If you have an 8-minute mile, do swings for 8 minutes. Start with a lightweight. Get to a heavyweight. If you can do swings nonstop for 8 minutes with a 32K, you're doing really good. Guess what? A mile's not going to be all that taxing at that point. But think about your time. Always think about your time. Match your time as your most basic thing. If you were like a K1 fighter and you had 5-minute rounds, then you would do 5-minute work sets. If you were a boxer and you had 3-minute rounds, you would do 3-minute sets. If you were a runner and you had to match your mile time, you would match your mile time. If you had to run a 5K, you would run a 5K, then you would figure out how to do kettlebells for that amount of time. If you're an Ironman, you're not going to be able to do that because that math just breaks completely apart. Your body's going to fall apart before you can complete that idea. The skin's going to come off your hands, but it's not a bad idea. The answer is always, how good do you want your answer to be? And there will always be caveats and corrections to that answer. It's kind of an annoying answer, but I'm super good at giving long, annoying, wordy answers that tell you everything and nothing all at the same time.